Luck has been on the Orange's side recently, but will it run out against the Irish? Welcome into a web edition of Cuse Countdown. I'm your host, Paul Mancano, alongside my two analysts, KJ Vaughn and Nicole Hansen. And guys, Syracuse Lacrosse has played in 6 straight one-goal games. They've won 5 of them. They just seem to have a knack for the dramatic.
They certainly do, Paul. I guess it's good because it shows what they can do in the clutch, but it's certainly it keeps all those Cuse fans out there sitting on the edge of their seat.
I was going to say, it's just like basketball season. Cardiac Cuse is back, and Lacrosse is not letting up.
Yeah, and Syracuse certainly, though, has a very tough task when they go up against #1 Notre Dame on the road in South Bend. Let's take a look at how these two teams compare. You look at the statistics, Notre Dame doesn't really jump off the page in any one area. They do have a very solid defense, giving up less than 8 goals per game, but beyond that, it's pretty much even with Syracuse. Their records are very similar as well, but the problem is Syracuse hasn't beaten this team since 2014. They've been absolutely in trouble anytime they have to face Notre Dame. So, guys, what makes Notre Dame so good? You looked at the statistics. They're outside of the top 5 in the country in just about everything. How are they able to be the #1 team in the country?
Well, I'm going to say defense, and it's not necessarily one player or maybe one group of players. It's more the overall defense. They just work well as a cohesive unit. Notre Dame is allowing their opponents to score just under an average of 8 goals per game, which is really impressive in Division I lacrosse. I think that's the main reason why Notre Dame is so good.
They might not be in the top 5, but their defense is number 8 with those about 7 to 8 goals per game scored on them. That's nothing to be ashamed of. That's really great, and I think it's really their defense that's really keeping up for the offense that may or may not be as dominant as some of the other teams up at the top of this list.
So Syracuse, certainly, they do have a tough task being able to score on this team. Let's talk about the keys to the game if Syracuse wants to upset the #1 team in the country. KJ?
So the key to the game for me, Syracuse, the defense, they need to D up. This is a Syracuse team that is really powered by their offense. And yes, they have a lot of great one-on-one matchups. When they need to score, they can create a shot and get a good one. But against a much better Notre Dame defense than Syracuse has seen, at least to this point in the season, that's not going to be there. That's why I'm saying that the defense needs to provide kind of the leaning, rock, or I guess something to stand on for the Orange if they want to get the win.
Defense, yes, very important, but I'm going to go with something that I feel is even more important. Finishing face-offs, I think, is really the key to this game. Face-offs, it's really hard to score points when you're not getting those possessions. And with Ben Williams struggling, only getting about 53% of face-offs compared to in the 60s last year, that's going to be really tough for Syracuse to be able to get ahead on this Notre Dame team where they're already going to be struggling on defense. Danny Verrill is really going to need to step up. We'll see if Coach Desko will put him in if Ben Williams is struggling or if he even struggles at all. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a step up from him. But I think that Notre Dame struggling with faceoffs themselves is really going to be a big thing for Syracuse to be able to get those and really take advantage of opportunities.
All right, let's get your predictions. Who wins Saturday? Nicole, let's start with you.
I'm going to go with Notre Dame taking this one, but not by too much. 11-9 is my score. Notre Dame's defense, I really think, is going to be key here because it is a tough year for Syracuse on offense. They've been struggling on the attack, and I think that that's really what's going to be it for them. They're not going to be able to take advantage of some of those many opportunities as that they've been able to get against a little bit of weaker defenses, and I think that because of that, they're really going to need to either step up, and I just don't think it will happen, but it will be a close game.
Yeah, Nicole, I'm with you. I'm taking Notre Dame 9-7 in this one, so a little bit more of a low-scoring affair, and really what I think happens is kind of, like what you said, the attack doesn't step up, but also the defense. I mean, I'm not saying the defense needs to absolutely shut down Notre Dame, but 9 goals to Notre Dame I think is enough to get the Fighting Irish the victory when their defense is just going to be way too much for the sporadic Cuse offense to handle. And I think it's also, going to be, they can't go on runs. They've had a tendency, Cuse has, to get really good on the attack and then, go cold for a while. And if you do that against Notre Dame, it's just not going to be good for you. And that's why I'm picking Notre Dame in this one.
All right, so both losses, but both pretty close games. We'll see if Syracuse is able to upset the #1 team in the country Saturday at noon in South Bend. This does it for this web edition of Cuse Countdown. Paul Mancano, KJ Vaughn, Nicole Hansen. Enjoy the game Saturday.